Hey there, this is Natalie, and with Season 2 of The Rising of the Shield Hero starting very soon, I wanted to talk about a big change from the light novels to the anime that was made at the end of Season 1, and which is well worth knowing about as the story continues. This doesn't really require me to spoil anything in terms of the upcoming plot in the anime, but I will be talking about some differences that will affect things in later seasons, so this comes with just a very mild spoiler warning. This will also be the biggest change you need to be aware of if you want to start reading the light novel series from where Season 1 left off. Season 1 covered volumes 1 to 5, and Season 2 will cover the new arc that starts with volume 6. It's only going to be a single core 12 episode season, so we'll probably cover light novel volumes 6, 7 and some or all of 8. And basically the anime added in some stuff from later in the series, around volume 10, at the end of season 1. So if you were to read the series starting with the season 2 source material, this is the main change you need to know about to avoid it being confusing. So, at the end of Season 1 of Rising of the Shield Hero, we see Naofumi take Raphtalia back to the ruined village that she came from. Naofumi has asked the Queen to give him this region as a territory, and he's rebuilding the village, and also using it as a base to train his allies, something that's even mentioned in the trailer for Season 2. It is kind of shown as Naofumi having made a commitment to Raphtalia that he'll stay in this world after the waves are over. It had already been established that if they successfully defeat the waves, the heroes will be able to go home to their original worlds, and that Naofumi was planning to go back to Japan as soon as he could, which Raphtalia was upset about. He'd suggested with things like her class upgrade that he wanted to make sure that she, Philo and the other characters he cared about would be happy and able to take care of themselves once he'd been, I guess, de-isekai'd. Now in the light novels this doesn't happen, or at least not yet, and not in the same way. Naofumi still invites Rishia, the girl who was kicked out of the Bow Heroes party, to join him, but other than that, it is straight into the next arc without Naofumi getting this territory. All of the training for his party is instead done at the castle in Melromark with the support of the Queen. Naofumi will rebuild the demi-human village and use that territory as his home base, but not until after 2 more major arcs. So if the anime was sticking to the light novels, this wouldn't happen until maybe around the start of Season 4. But what is probably more important to note than Naofumi not having his base yet is the difference to his level of commitment to the world and Raphtalia. In the light novels, even after having established this village, he still views it as a place where Raphtalia can be happy and live out her life after he goes back to Japan. He's still, at that point in the story, a couple of arcs on from the end of Season 1, planning to go home as soon as he's able to. Once his responsibilities with the waves are over and he can go back to his own world, he plans for Raphtalia to stay in the village and to leave Philo with Melty, because they're best friends. At this point in the story, he still sees Raphtalia and Philo as surrogate daughters, and is oblivious to the fact Raphtalia is in love with him. So his idea for the future is to make sure his girls are safe and can live the lives they want to, but not to be with them forever. Just like a parent, really. So why was this changed for the anime? Well, there is a tendency when light novel series are adapted, especially with first seasons, to make the ending of the last arc in the season happier and more satisfying than it is when it's just the end of an arc in a long, ongoing light novel series. This is presumably in case there never is a Season 2, so the first season can stand on its own as a story with some closure to it. In Season 1 of the anime, with this change, we see Naofumi going from being persecuted and hating being in this world to having found a home there and wanting to stay as part of that world with Raphtalia, which gives a more complete sense of a character arc for him. If it had just ended with him adding a new person to his party and discovering that people from another world want to kill him, on its own that would feel like set up for another season that might never have come. It makes the story told in the season feel more complete, and makes Naofumi's development and his relationship with Raphtalia feel a bit more conclusive, while also keeping the plot elements that make sure you know there's more to come. It's similar to the way that ReZero Season 1 originally had a happy and satisfying ending, with Emilia forgiving and accepting Subaru, and the Who's Rem cliffhanger that revealed that events hadn't ended quite as happily as they seemed was only added in the director's cut, which was made once Season 2 was already in the works. I don't think this change will especially come back to bite them in adapting the next arcs. For reasons I won't spoil, Naofumi won't really be spending any time at the village until the point in the story where he'd be basing himself there in the light novels anyway, and so it'll just take some minor tweaks to work around this change plot-wise. But it is interesting the way it's accelerated Naofumi's arc in terms of his resolve to return home. It could be that this just isn't going to be explored much going forward in the anime, or potentially they may even have him backtrack on it. There have been other subtle changes to Naofumi and other characters between the light novel and anime. For instance, in the anime, Naofumi stops Raphtalia killing the slave owner who had imprisoned her and her friends, and he just trips on his own weapon and falls out of a window. Whereas in the light novels, Naofumi appreciates Raphtalia's need for revenge and doesn't stop her, and she pushes him through the window instead. The outcome is the same, but anime Naofumi and Raphtalia act a bit more nobly in that situation. The cynical part of me thinks this might just be because they knew Raphtalia's high waifu of the season potential, and so didn't want to sully her with any darker actions, ending her revenge arc with her taking the moral high ground rather than taking revenge. The guy survives in both versions, only to be stomped to death by the monster he unseals, so the anime version allowed for a different bit of character development for Raphtalia without affecting the plot. The character of the Queen of Melromark was also changed quite a lot in the anime, where in the light novels she's a much angrier character who burns portraits and statues of trash and bitch when she hears about the things they've done. But I think toning her down was done more just to save screen time and to keep her a bit more mysterious. We will be seeing more of her as the story goes on, so perhaps she'll seem less nerfed compared to her light novel counterpart as her involvement in the story goes on. So that's really what you need to know about the main differences between Shield Hero Season 1 and the light novel volumes it's based on, ready to get into Season 2. If you're looking forward to Shield Hero Season 2, please consider helping me out by subscribing to my channel, because I'll be making lots of Shield Hero content throughout the season. Thank you as always to my supporters on Patreon, and to everyone who subscribes to my channel and watches my videos. Thank you for watching this one, and I hope to see you again very soon.